Hi guys, welcome back in. This is Bob with KC Craps, and today what we are going to do is we're going to take that system that I showed last week where I was targeting 3, 6, 8, and yo on a crapless table, working to come out and seeing if we can't turn it into a successful system. It worked for us, and I liked it. But then I started thinking, instead of going for the 3 and yo, what if we wanted to go 4 and 10? What two numbers do we want to add with that to try to take advantage of the same system? Got the dice set for you. Got the dice down there, chips down here. Grab a drink and a snack or two. Let's see how this works. All right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to take that same concept that I showed last week on playing the 3, 6, 8, and 11 on a crapless craps table and hedging it with the pass line, showing that we aren't necessarily afraid of what's going to happen there, here, and losing very minimal amount of money, but trying to beat the system and make some money. All right, so I'm going to start off again with just $500. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 200, 300, 400, and 500. So we've got $500 here. We're going to put $100 out twice. And then I need some nickels for covering the caps. All right, so we're going to start off. This time we're going to go 4, 6, 8, and 10. And then I'll cover that on the pass line. Let me get some nickels here. So I need 5 total, 4 and 5. I need 1 cap here, 1 cap here, and then $10 here, making that 110, reflecting what I have here on the table. Now, the last time we did this, I did this with a 3, 5, 3, 1 dice set, which gave us targets of 6 and 8 with 3s and yos coming out periodically. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3, 5, 1, 5. The reason we do that is it targets 4s and 10s, but with a simple twist, we get a yo, a 7, a 6, and there's a 10. We also get a 9, a 7, and an 8 along with a 10. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go 3, 5, 1, 5, and see if we can't apply this same concept, what we did with the 3 and yo, and just translate it to the 4 and 10, keeping the same strategy. So we've got 110 on our pass line, 110 out on the board itself. This is the only dice set I'm going to use for this entire roll. It's a 3, 5, 1, 5. And again, if the dice are cooperating with us and we get a nice even spin, we can see some success using this system. All right, so here's our first toss. We are going to actually work this on a crapless craps table. Mind you, it has to be done on a crapless craps table. That way you don't get penalized on the 2, 3, and 12 on a craps number if it does come up. Here's our come out roll. We get a 2, 4, 6 right out the gate. That gives us exactly what we are after. So that's going to pay us $35. Now on this first hit, I'm going to use it to pump it up. I'm going to make it 60 and rack the 5. I want to use this first hit with the exception of the 4 and 10 to raise my bets. Because the first 4 and 10 will pay me $50. I'll rack that. All right, staying with the 3, 5, 1, 5. Here is our next toss. That is a 3, 4, 7. All right, so we just lost everything. That is going to happen, and you have to be prepared for it. Not every roll is going to go perfectly for you. So we're just going to reset it up, quarters across. And then I need more nickels. So there is 5. We'll cap our 6 and 8. And then we will take $110, and we'll put it on the pass line. Again, same concept. We're just trying it again. Now, with the $500 bankroll, obviously you're not going to get very many opportunities to do this if it PSOs or you get knocked out fairly early. However, coming in with this, if you're going to try this system, the proper way to do it is to come in 10 rollers deep. So about $2,000 or $2,100 is probably what you should come in with. So we'll just reset it, 3, 5, 1, 5. The point is off. We are working this roll on a crapless craps table. Next toss. There's a 3-4-7. Okay, that is a frontline winner. However, it's a wash for us because we were working this and we had 110. So we just take our dice and we get to throw again. No penalty, no loss of money. We are good to go with that. This is why we put the 110 on the pass line in case that happens when we're working. Same 3-5-1-5, still working. Here's our next toss. There is a 2-6 easy 8. I couldn't see the other die. All right, so that's going to mark us on an 8. That's going to pay us $35. I'm going to bump it up to 60, rack the 5, and now we can roll. Let me mark my tracker here. That's an 8. I like to keep track to see how many rolls I get in, how well it's distributing as I'm throwing as well. 3-5-1-5. There is a hard 4. Awesome. So we'll drop them a $1 VIG. That gives me $4 back. This pays me $50. Now, with this, I know I said I wanted to collect it, but if I go early and I'm able to press this up to 50, one more hit, I'm in a really good position. So I'm going to give it a try. Why not? We're kind of exploring things together. Let me mark that 4 for the hard 4 we got, and we can roll again. Staying with the 3-5-1-5. Here's our next toss. That is a hard 6. Let's mark the 6. That's going to pay us, again, $35. So we'll just bump it up to 60, and I'm going to rack that 5. Last time we did that, we hit a hard 4. So let's see if we can't hit a hard 10. Fix my money. All right, so currently we've got $50 on the 4 and 10, $60 on the 6 and 8. And if you look at the tracker, I've hit the 4, 6, and 8. 3-5-1-5. 3-5-1-5. Here comes our next toss. That's a 5-1-6. That's going to pay us $70. Now, with this one, I will rack it because that's a quarter, a little more than a quarter of what I have out on the table, or had originally put out on the table. We would like to get a point, which is an 8, but we're not going to target that 8. We're going to continue on this because I want to see how well it plays out. 3-5-1-5. 6-1. Okay. So we did recoup a little bit of what we made, but we also took a hit with that. So now what I'm going to try is I'm going to try that same thing, but now if I get a targeted number, I'm going to see if I can't get that as quickly as possible. So there's 110. All right. So it looks like I am now officially out of being able to cover the 110. So it gives me a couple options. Either A, I can pull out another $100 bill out of my pocket, buy in for another $500, or I can just put a quarter on the pass line and work it normally without working the come out roll. I think we'll do that. So I'll put a quarter on the pass line, put the money back in the rack. That's all we have left from our 500 because we had 2 short rolls. Again, if you're playing craps, you have to be prepared for that when you walk onto a table with a bunch of people that you may not necessarily be familiar with or know. So we're just going to work this normally. We're not working the come out. So I'm going to switch to a 6-2-6-2 on the come out roll. Hard 10. That worked out nicely. So we'll take that. We'll slide it down. Mark our 10. Now that I know my 10 is my point, I'm going to aim for it. 3-5-1-5 is 4s and 10s friendly. So we're in a good position. Oh, and while I'm doing this, 2, 4, and 5, I'm going to put a quarter on the pass line odds. Double dip here because that's one of my targeted numbers. I'm going to add pass line odds to my targeted numbers. So here we go, 3-5-1-5. Here's our next toss. A 5, 3, 8, that's going to pay us $35. Kick it up to 60, rack the 5. 8 is marked. Let's slide down. And I'm not changing the dice set, so I'm not going to keep announcing it. But for those, one last time, it's a 3, 5, 1, 5 dice set. That's all we're using unless I announce differently. Aces in both places. That's pretty. Just take the dice, slide them down. Let's throw again. We're not going to waste any time in between throws. I want to really test this hard and see if we can't get some good accomplishments out of it. There is a 5, 4, 9. Look at the tracker. It's looking pretty so far. We don't get anything on a 9, but again, we're okay with that. We're still involved in the hand. We still have work to do to get our money off the table, and so we'll just be patient. Next toss. There's a 5, 1, 6. That's going to pay us 35. I'll make it 60, rack the 5, mark the 6. Let's grab our dice and have a throw. So far, it looks like it could be a viable option if the die, as long as the dice are cooperating and you're getting consistent throws and a landing zone that you like. That's a 5, 4, 9. It is a leaner, but they will call that a 9. No harsh, no harm, no penalty. We just keep throwing. Got my dice set. Here is our next toss. Oh, that was a pretty throw. 2, 4, 6. All right, that's going to pay us 70. Now that I have this up to the $60 level, both on the 6 and 8, I'm going to rack this. So I've got $80 in the rack. We started off with 110 plus 25, 135. And actually, you know what? 10 is my number. So I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 75 because that's as high as I can go on the 3, 4, 5 times odds. We're okay with that. It helps us limit what we are putting on the table. Here's our next toss. That's boxcars. So now I'm looking at my tracker. I need a yo 3, 4, 5 to hit the all. So I'm going to deviate one time. I'm going to go with the 3, 5, 3, 1 and see if I can't hit some of those numbers. Here's our toss. That's a 6, 1. Okay, so let's back up again. Instead of taking that down and being out of the hand, let's go back to that 3, 5, 1, 5. Is that something that we want to do? Do we want to change to a 3? Yeah, see, we would have got the same result. 3, 5, 3, 1 is what I was saying. So yeah, we're out. So with that said, and what we saw, we did see some viable hits using the 4, 6, 8, and 10 as a means to duplicate what we did on the 3, 6, 8 yo. I want to do one more. And again, since this is just basically to test a theory and not watch our money, I'll just grab another $500 and we'll give this a go. All right, so this time I'm going to be super aggressive because I really want to apply the pressure. 4, 10, 6, and 8. I need $50 in red. There's 50. We'll go 120 on the 8, 120 on the 6. That leaves me with $60, and I'll just put all that right on the pass line. Again, it's not about how much money we're making. It's about, does this system work for what we want it to do? So the button is off. I'm not working this, obviously. Go with a 6, 2, 6, 2. Here's our toss. And again, this is on a crapless table, so we don't get penalized for the 2, 3, and 12. Aces, perfect. That was with a 6, 2, 6, 2, so we know our dice are flying right. Let's mark that 2. Now let's go with a 3, 5, 1, 5 and see if we can't get some hits. Here's our next toss. That's aces right back. Holy cow. All right. So I'm only going to make $60 there. I say only, but that's all we had right there. So I'm now going to take the 10, the quarter off of it. We'll just leave it at a quarter. And now I can rack all of that. So that's $95 right there. We still got a long ways to go before we get our money off the table. However, we did make a good step. So 3-5, or excuse me, we're back on the come outs, and I'm not going to work it. So I'm going to go with a 6-2-6-2 again so that we can have it set. Here's our toss, and we get a 3-1-4. So let's go ahead. We'll mark the tracker with a 4, grab our dice, slide them down. Now, again, with it being a 3-5-1-5 and we're targeting 4s and 10s, I'm going to put $75 behind my quarter. That's as much as I can put on there on a 3, 4, 5 time odds table. 3-5-1-5. Here is our next toss. That's a 5-4-9. Okay. 3-5-1-5. So that is one of our outcomes. We're good to go. Let's keep pressing. 3-5-1-5. Let's see if we can't hit some numbers. Just remember, nice, easy tosses. It doesn't have to be a power toss. Just get the nice, easy flick. And look at that. Perfect. All right, so we've got $100 here. I'm going to drop them a nickel. That's going to pay us $200. And I'll go ahead and replace that, showing that we hit it. The 4 is marked. Now back here, I've got 75. That's going to pay us $150 on the back and a quarter on the front. We'll just rack that as well. All right, so now I've got $300, $450. This is $440 plus a quarter makes $465. So we are almost out of the hand. That was for my VIG from earlier. So we'll put that right there. The puck is off. Now we're rolling again. We are not working this again because we don't have enough on our pass line to cover all that. And I don't know if I necessarily would feel comfortable trying to cover all of that on a single roll. So we'll go back to our 6-2, 6-2 die set. Here's our come out roll. A 2-3-5. Take our dice, slide them down. So we'll mark our 5. Now, a 5 is not one of our numbers that we're trying to target. So I am not going to place pass line odds. I'm only going to put it on the 4 numbers that I'm trying to target. Here we go, 3-5-1-5. Here is our next toss. That's a 5-1-6. All right, that's going to pay us $140. Now, I've got 400, 550, 575, 585, 605 is what I currently have. Oh, wait a minute. Is that 600? No. 75. Okay, so there's $605. I started off with 440, 465. We are out of the hand. So now, because of that, I can start applying pressure. Let's mark our 6. Get our dice set. Remember what the dice set is, right? 3-5-1-5. Here's our next toss. Nice, easy toss with a little back flip. 4. Perfect. We'll take the 5, drop it right there for the VIG on the 4, pays us $200. I'm going to press it to 2, rack the other one. Once I get enough that I have doubled what I have taken off of the table, that's when I will go full bore pressure. 3-5-1-5. It's a good rule of thumb to have if you are looking for a rule to follow on what type of pressure you're going to utilize. 5-1-6. There's 140. All right, so we've got that at 140. Let's go ahead and make it 150. Just a little pressure, and I'll rack the rest of it. So 150 will pay us 175 if it hits. Staying with the 3-5-1-5. Here is our next toss. That's a hard 6 right back. Perfect. So that's going to pay us 175. I'm now going to take it up to 300. And that's going to be my collection point on this next hit. Why am I being so aggressive? Because I am out of the hand, right? So again, I've got 2, 4, 500, 6, 7, 75, 800, 25, $835. I think I have qualified to push a little bit harder, especially after back-to-back hits like that on that 6. So now we'll just keep on rolling. 3, 5, 1, 5. If the dice are going to give it to us, we would be foolish not to take advantage of it, especially now that we are out of the hand. That's a 314. I've got 200 on it. Let's drop $10. We get 400, right? So now I'm going to double it up to 400, collect my initial $200 that I had on there. I'm using it as a swap bet. So if that one hits, it'll pay me 800. I'll push it up to 8, pull the 400 off. That's what I mean by a swap bet, just for those who don't understand what I was going at. Our next toss. A 639. That was pretty. Slide it down. Let's throw again. That falls within our expected numbers that we were wanting to see. 3, 5, 1, 5. Here we go. Next toss. Nice, easy toss. Gives us another 4. Oh, all right. Let's drop them $20. That's going to pay us 800. So I'll take the 400, put it right there, put 800 now on my 4. Take our dice, slide them down. Let's throw again. Now, most of the time you'll see a $15 table have a max bet of 5,000. We're just going to stick to that same philosophy. 3, 5, 1, 5, especially if we keep pounding the crap out of that 4. Nice, easy toss with a slight backflip, 3, 4. Okay, we knew it was going to come at some point. So now let's take the money off the table and see where we're at. There's 500, there's 1,000, 1,100, 12, 13, 75, 1405 is what we wound up getting on that second go, that second buy-in. So obviously, not only did we recoup what we initially lost, we doubled what we came back in with. Let's see here. So I had 500. We had 1,000. So that's our initial buy-ins for both of them. And then I get another 300, $405 on top of what I initially came in with. I think there is some viability with this system. Would love to hear your thoughts. What would you do differently? Do you think this is something that you would like to try using that dice set? And again, if you're going to try this, make sure that you have a good control of your dice, nice light tosses, and don't throw them with force. Just nice light toss with a backspin on it. You could try to replicate these results. I think there's some viability to it, whether you play the 3, 6, 8 yo or the 4, 6, 8, 10. I have now shown you 2 different ways to try to take advantage of not only a dice set, but the casino and letting them play with that type of system. So as I had mentioned in the video, bankroll management is the most important type of strategy that you should always have in mind, regardless of what strategy you're going to play on a craps table or even a crapless table. And so we did go through $500 like that. However, sticking to our system and just making another initial $500 investment, not only did we make all of our money back, we almost doubled the money on the second buy-in. So there is some viability to this. A little more practice on my end to try to target my numbers a little bit better could be beneficial, and it's something that I will continue to explore. Did you like this video? go ahead and hit that like button. Also, I'm looking for more of your subscribers. And finally, hit the bell notification that will let you know when our next video comes out, like tomorrow night when we actually have a live stream. If you aren't a member of my Discord community, I highly recommend it. Be sure to check that out. Until next time, this is Bob with KC Craps. Y'all have a great week.